We've been told men are simple, visual, surface level, slow to feel. But what if that's wrong? What if men fall in love not with how you look, but with how you make them feel about themselves when they're with you? Most women miss it, not because they don't care, but because men rarely say it out loud. They don't confess it. They demonstrate it. And if you don't know what to look for, you'll think he's indifferent when in reality, he's fallen. Today we're going to uncover the hidden reason men fall in love and why most women walk right past it. When we talk about love, we often speak of feelings, connection, and chemistry. But for men, the path to falling in love often looks different than what we imagine. It's not just about attraction or shared laughter. It's about effort, and more importantly, how that effort is received. Men fall in love through feeling safe in their effort. It's not the doing alone that makes them commit. It's what happens on the other side of the doing that either opens their heart or closes it off. Men are conditioned from a young age to value their contribution. Their worth is often tied to what they can provide, protect, or solve. So when a man starts to care about a woman, he instinctively begins to fix things, solve problems, support goals, make plans, show up. These actions are not random. They are emotional investments. And each effort is a small question. Is this enough? Do you see me? Do you value this? What many women don't realize is that these actions are a form of vulnerability. They may not come wrapped in poetic words or deep eye contact, but they carry just as much emotional weight. When a man takes initiative, when he plans something for you, or when he fixes your car without being asked, he is taking a risk. He is silently offering up a piece of himself in hopes that it lands in a place where it's appreciated. If that effort is dismissed, criticized, or taken for granted, the emotional door begins to close, not out of pride, but out of protection. Because to a man, rejection of his effort feels like rejection of his identity. He doesn't need applause or dramatic displays of gratitude. He just needs to know it mattered, that what he gave was received with warmth, not measurement. On the other hand, when a woman sees the effort, not just the result, and responds with respect, gratitude, or trust, something powerful happens inside him. He feels safe. Not safe from danger, but safe to continue investing. Safe to keep showing up. Safe to go deeper. It's in that space where his effort feels effective and welcomed that he begins to attach emotionally. This is often why men fall for women who make them feel capable. Not because they want to be worshipped, but because being with her makes them feel like their best self. A woman who acknowledges his small efforts, who lets him help without belittling him, who lets him lead sometimes without questioning his every move, she becomes the one he wants to do more for. Not because he has to, but because her response makes him want to. In relationships, we often talk about emotional safety for women, and rightly so. But emotional safety for men looks different. It's about knowing that their energy, their time, their problem solving, and their loyalty are not invisible. It's about knowing they can offer what they uniquely bring to the table without being mocked, dismissed, or compared. When a man finds that space, relaxes, he connects. So if you ever wonder why a man pulls away after giving so much, or why another one stays and keeps building, it often comes down to this quiet truth. His love grew where his effort was safe. Not just received, but honored. Not just used, but appreciated. And once that happens, he stops measuring what he gives. He just gives. Because love for him is not a feeling that demands words. It's a feeling that asks, is what I do making a difference? If the answer is yes, he stays, and he loves deeply. When it comes to love, many women are conditioned to look for expressive emotions, words of affirmation, open vulnerability, grand gestures, or passionate confessions. But for many men, love speaks a quieter language. It's not found in declarations or romantic flourishes. It's found in consistency. Silent loyalty is their language of love. And unless you understand how to interpret it, you might mistake it for distance, or worse, indifference. Men are often raised in environments that teach them to suppress their feelings, to prioritize stoicism, and to prove their worth through action rather than emotion. Because of this, many of them grow into adults who struggle to verbalize their inner world, but that doesn't mean they aren't feeling deeply. In fact, some of the most loyal men are the ones who say the least, but do the most. Their love doesn't come in sound waves, it comes in patterns. He may not say, "I love you" every day, but he'll check in to make sure you got home safe. He might not write long texts about how much you mean to him, but he'll make sure your car is running, your favorite snack is stocked, or your problems are solved before you even finish explaining them. He shows up when it matters, maybe without fanfare, but always without fail. That's how he loves. What's often misunderstood is that loyalty doesn't always look like intensity. It looks like presence. He stays, he returns, he remains. Even when conversations get difficult, even when you're emotional or uncertain, he doesn't disappear. He might not always say the perfect thing, but he's there. And that there-ness is not accidental. It's intentional. It's his version of, "I'm not going anywhere." This kind of loyalty isn't loud because it's not trying to prove itself. It just is. It's the guy who keeps showing up, even when you're moody. It's the man who remembers the small things, even if he forgets the big anniversary. It's the partner who doesn't need attention to do the right thing, because for him, love isn't about performing, it's about committing, even when no one's watching. Ironically, many women overlook this. They're waiting for the emotional speech or the spontaneous gift, and when those things don't come, they begin to doubt his feelings. But his love was never hidden, it was just quiet. Silent loyalty is easy to miss if you're only listening with your ears. You have to watch his patterns, his presence, his protection. That's where the love lives. Of course, this doesn't mean that words and affection don't matter. They do. And the healthiest relationships involve both emotional openness and action. But if you're partnered with a man who struggles to express himself verbally, pay attention to what he does repeatedly. That's the code he's using. That's how he tells you he's all in. It's also worth noting that this kind of love is fragile in its own way. When loyalty goes unnoticed or is taken for granted, a man can slowly retreat. He won't explode or give ultimatums. He'll simply stop trying. Because for him, loyalty is sacred. And if it feels one-sided or unappreciated, he quietly withdraws, just like he quietly gave. So, if you're ever wondering if he loves you, look past the volume. Look at the rhythm. Ask yourself who he becomes when you need someone most. Ask yourself whether he's consistent, even in chaos. Ask yourself if he disappears when things get hard, or if he just stands a little closer. Because if he does, you may not hear him say it every day, but make no mistake, his loyalty is his love letter. You just have to learn how to read it. Men, more often than not, are misunderstood in how they experience love and connection. While it's easy to assume they crave attention, validation, or even submission, the truth runs deeper. What most men truly seek isn't constant attention, it's admiration. Not flattery, not ego strokes, but a sincere recognition of who they are and what they're trying to become. When a man feels admired by a woman, it awakens something powerful in him. It calls him forward. It grounds his love. Attention is fleeting. Anyone can give it. A man can receive attention from strangers, from social media, from casual encounters. But admiration? That's rare. That comes from someone who sees him, not just for what he looks like or what he owns, but for his values, his intentions, his resilience, and the way he carries himself through the world. That kind of seeing creates emotional intimacy. And that is what makes a man fall. Men are often under silent pressure to achieve, to lead, to protect, to provide. They live in a world where their worth is often measured by performance, by how strong they are, how much money they make, how much control they can maintain. So when a woman enters his world and acknowledges the man behind the performance, not just the results of it, it feels revolutionary. He doesn't have to wear a mask with her. He doesn't have to be perfect. Her admiration tells him, you are enough, not just because of what you do, but because of how you do it. This is why men often fall hardest for the women who respect them, not just romantically, but deeply. A woman who says, I believe in you, carries more emotional weight than one who simply says, I miss you. A man who feels admired in a relationship begins to lead with heart, not just. He becomes more open, more giving, more secure. Because admiration builds internal value, it reminds him of who he is when he forgets. And yet so many women confuse attention with love. They believe that constantly texting, complimenting his looks, or demanding time will make him feel cared for. But to a man, that can sometimes feel like pressure or noise. What he longs for is that moment where his effort is seen and respected, when his integrity is noticed. When the way he carries burdens quietly, or the way he keeps his word even when it's hard, is not just expected but appreciated. This is where many relationships begin to shift, when admiration fades and criticism takes its place. A man who once felt strong beside a woman may begin to feel small if she focuses only on what he lacks or where he falls short. Over time, he pulls away, not necessarily from her, but from the version of himself he becomes around her. And that is why admiration isn't a luxury, it's a necessity if you want to reach his emotional core. Admiration isn't about idolizing him or putting him on a pedestal. It's about seeing his character, his depth, his effort, and letting him know that those things matter. It's saying, I notice how hard you try even when it's not easy. It's saying, I trust your decisions. It's saying, I know you're not perfect, but I respect the man you are becoming. In the end, men may enjoy attention, but they open up because of admiration. It builds a relationship where they feel proud to show up, not because they have to, but because they want to. When a man is admired by the woman he loves, he doesn't just feel liked, he feels honored, and that is the kind of love he never wants to lose. When people talk about attraction and love, they often focus on surface traits, looks, charisma, confidence, or charm. But for men, especially those who are emotionally mature or emotionally guarded, the real turning point in love isn't chemistry, it's emotional safety. And yet it's rarely talked about because it's not loud, dramatic, or instantly visible. Emotional safety is the unseen trigger. It doesn't flash like excitement. It builds quietly, powerfully, permanently. For many men, vulnerability is risky terrain. They've been taught by culture, upbringing, or experience that opening up is dangerous. It leads to being misunderstood, criticized, or controlled. So they learn to armor up, to be strong, logical, detached. But beneath that armor is still a desire for connection. The problem is that connection can't grow where they feel unsafe. And most don't even realize how much they need safety until they feel it. Emotional safety for a man isn't about being babied or constantly reassured. It's about having the space to show up as he is without being judged, corrected, or shamed. It's about being able to express his fears without being seen as weak. To speak his mind without it turning into a power struggle. To fall short sometimes and not have that used against him later. When a man senses that kind of environment, his guard lowers, not all at once, but enough to let love in. The women who trigger this kind of safety are often the ones who don't force closeness. They create space. They listen without interrupting. They respond without reacting. They don't overanalyze every word or try to fix him. They allow silence. They trust his process. And in that space, something incredible happens. He starts to reveal more, not because he's pressured, but because he wants to. What many women miss is that emotional safety is not created through constant emotional availability. It's created through emotional stability. He's not testing how much you feel, he's watching how you handle emotion. Do you listen without needing to win? Do you give feedback without attacking? Do you stay calm even when you don't agree? These small moments tell him, it's okay to be human here. And that's what makes him fall. Men who feel emotionally safe become more generous, expressive, and loyal. They offer more of themselves, ideas, plans, fears, even affection, because they no longer have to protect every part of their identity. the relationship shifts from performance to presence, from defense to depth. That safety becomes the soil in which love can finally grow strong roots. On the flip side, when a man doesn't feel safe, he withdraws, not always physically, but emotionally. He goes quiet. He avoids hard conversations. He becomes hyper-logical or dismissive, not because he doesn't care, but because he doesn't feel there's a safe path to be real. And often this is misunderstood as a lack of love, but really, it's a lack of security. Emotional safety doesn't mean avoiding conflict or always agreeing. It means creating a space where even the uncomfortable things can be faced together without fear of destruction. It means holding space for his thoughts without needing to reshape them. It means understanding that when he finally shares his deeper truths, it's not weakness, it's a gift. So if you're wondering why a man pulls away or why another one leans in with more depth than you expected, ask yourself this: does he feel safe around you? Not excited, not impressed, but safe. Because for many men, love doesn't start with a spark. It starts in a space where he knows he won't be punished for being himself. That's the moment the heart opens, not with fireworks, but with trust. And once that trust is there, the love that follows is unshakable. Men don't fall in love with control. They don't bond through constant correction or micromanagement. What captures their heart, what makes them stay, is trust. Not blind obedience, not silence, but genuine trust in who they are and how they operate in the world. Men fall for the space where they're trusted, because in that space, they feel capable, respected, and emotionally free to rise into their better selves. Trust is more than believing he won't cheat or lie. It's about trusting his decision-making, his timing, his judgment. It's about believing he can handle life without being constantly directed. When a man feels trusted, he doesn't just feel good, he feels anchored. It brings out the part of him that wants to lead, contribute, and build something meaningful. And that energy turns into love. Many women don't realize how often they unintentionally signal distrust. Questioning every move, double-checking everything he says, reminding him over and over, trying to fix the way he does things. All of this tells a man, I don't believe you've got this. That message might seem small, but over time, it wears down the foundation of the relationship, not because he's sensitive, but because his sense of value in the relationship is tied to his sense of being trusted. When a man doesn't feel trusted, he doesn't just feel annoyed, he feels unnecessary. And when a man feels unnecessary, he either checks out or shuts down. His energy pulls back, his investment decreases. And he may not even know why. But underneath the distance is a quiet resignation. There's no room for me here. On the other hand, when a woman shows that she believes in his capability, even when he does things differently, he lights up. He becomes more involved, more proactive, more connected. Not because he has to prove anything, but because he wants to rise to that level of belief. Trust isn't passive. It's a mirror that shows him who he can be at his best. A man falls in love when he feels like he can bring his full self to the relationship without having to defend every choice. He falls when his failures aren't weaponized, when his silence isn't constantly interpreted as rejection, when his independence isn't seen as distance. In other words, he falls when he feels like he has the freedom to be without being reshaped. This doesn't mean ignoring red flags or pretending everything is fine when it's not. Healthy trust includes boundaries, standards, and communication. But it's not based on fear. It's based on faith. Faith in his ability to figure things out, to come through, to show up in his own way. That kind of faith changes the dynamic. It shifts it from control to connection, from management to partnership. It's also important to know that trust isn't just something you give, it's something you create. You create it by listening without assuming, by holding back the need to control every outcome, by appreciating his unique strengths, even if they don't look like yours. And most importantly, by making room for his process, not just your preference. In that kind of space, a man starts to open up. He shares more. He commits more deeply. He relaxes, because trust tells him you're safe to lead, to try, to fail, and to grow. And that kind of emotional permission is rare. It's what makes them look at you and think, this is where I want to be. This is someone I want to protect, provide for, and build with. In the end, men don't fall for who controls them. They fall for who trusts them. And when that trust is real, they'll do everything in their power to deserve it. For many women, emotional intimacy is often built through shared feelings, deep conversations, or passionate connection. But for many men, the glue of a lasting relationship isn't just how intense the chemistry feels, it's whether there's a shared purpose. They bond through moving forward, building something, contributing to a larger mission together. It's not that passion doesn't matter, it absolutely does, but it's not enough on its own. What sustains a man's emotional commitment is knowing that you're walking in the same direction, toward something meaningful, together. Passion may draw him in, but purpose is what roots him. A relationship that's all chemistry but no direction can feel thrilling for a while, but eventually it leaves him restless. Men want to feel like the relationship they're investing in matters. That it's not just a source of emotional highs, but a container for growth, legacy, and contribution. That shared vision could be a family, a business, a dream lifestyle, or simply a way of living that reflects both people's values. The point is, it has direction, it has movement, and it has meaning. When a man finds a woman who aligns with his sense of purpose, his heart begins to open in a very different way. He doesn't just see her as a partner, he sees her as a teammate, a collaborator, someone he can build with. That kind of partnership makes him feel seen and supported in the deepest way. He's not just loved for who he is today, he's encouraged to become who he wants to be tomorrow. This is why men are often drawn to women who support their mission. Not in a passive stand behind him kind of way, but in a side-by-side way. A woman who understands his why, who asks questions about his goals, who shows interest in what drives him. That woman becomes unforgettable. Not because she inflates his ego, but because she fuels his momentum. And it goes both ways. A man also wants to feel useful in helping you move toward your purpose. He wants to be involved in what matters to you. When a woman shares her vision and invites him into it, not with demands, but with openness, he feels trusted and empowered. Suddenly, the relationship isn't just about love, it's about legacy. This dynamic creates a depth that passion alone can't sustain. When things get hard, as they inevitably do, it's shared purpose that pulls a couple through. Because when you know what you're building together, you're more likely to fight for each other, not just with each other. Disagreements don't feel like threats to the relationship, they feel like necessary conversations to realign the mission. Men also tend to process emotion differently. They may not always have the language for their feelings, but they understand action. They bond by doing, by working towards something, by moving. So when a relationship becomes stagnant or overly focused on emotional talk without forward motion, he may begin to drift, not because he doesn't care, but because he doesn't see a path. He doesn't feel useful. If you want to reach a man on a deeper level, invite him into a shared journey. Dream together, set goals, co-create rituals, values, and visions. Celebrate the small wins along the way. Show him that your love has structure and purpose, not just desire. Because in the end, men don't stay just because it feels good. They stay because it means something. When he looks at you and sees not just a lover, but a partner in purpose, he bonds with a strength that outlasts infatuation. He commits not just to the relationship, but to the future you're building together. That's the love that lasts. Not just driven by passion, but sustained by purpose.